Kayok. Well, I have returned, and in this video we're going to answer another question. This question concerns the event that reportedly took place in ancient Egypt when they experienced that very severe famine. And the question is that story literal? Is it allegory? Is it a parable? Well, I will tell you that it is literal. That famine did take place, and it was horrible. Now, for those who do not read ancient Hebrew and can't speak it, the only thing they have to work with is the English. But even that information that they read is very, very limited. Because in ancient Hebrew, it tells you so much more about what really took place and who was responsible. Because in the religious circles, right, their superstitious hocus pocusy version is that the creator cursed the Pharaoh and darn near starved people to death. Why is it that the Gadon and the sociopaths that are in cahoots with the Gadon, why is it that they're always trying to blame the creator for they create and cause? Have you noticed that? I have. Well, in the writings, it's clear the creator had nothing to do with that. Nothing whatsoever. It was all man-made. Yeah, man-made catastrophe. And I am saying this myself. I suspect it was deliberate. So, we're going to go to Genesis 47. And I'm going to tell you what happened. And then we're going to look at a couple of words and some verses. I will say that some of these words I am not going to translate to English because they are highly derogatory. So derogatory, in fact, it would be no different from a Caucasian calling me the N-word. That's how derogatory some of the terms in Genesis chapter 47 are. And I'm referring to the terms that are used for these individuals who are said to be responsible for this famine. So let's get to it. First, let me explain to you. Let me tell you what happened. And then we'll get to the verse, Genesis chapter 47. The famine did happen. It was caused by the Hamites, in particular their leader, the Pharaoh, making some very bad business decisions. Business decisions that put them into debt. When I was reading this, I immediately recalled reading a news report about certain tribes over in Africa. Of course, we know it wasn't always called Africa, but they have literally put themselves in debt. Well, I should say their leaders have put them in debt to a completely different race. And that race is a race of Mongols, the Chinese. And when I was reading this in Genesis chapter 47, reading this in ancient Hebrew, and I made the comparison between then and now, I had to ask myself, why is it that these Hamites from one generation to the next continuously put themselves in debt to other nations? You know, debt is a form of slavery. The modern day term for it is debt bondage. And they have continuously done this. They're still doing it. Well, let's get to the meat of this story. Because of this debt that the Pharaoh had basically incurred, when it came time to pay up, this particular tribe of Arabs, this is what they told him. You give us in exchange to cover a portion of your debt, the remainder of your non-hybridized heirloom seed, which you won't get a very high yield anyway. In exchange, we're going to give you a variant that we developed ourselves. It gives you a much higher yield. And at harvest time, you can take some of that excess and pay us with that as well. So the Pharaoh thought, it's a done deal. And I'm sure the Pharaoh was probably thinking, I can't go wrong. And I wonder if he was also imagining or thinking that the Arabs were stupid. not so much. Because at harvest time, there was nothing to harvest. Somebody's in trouble. Well, guess who came to the rescue? You know him as Joseph. So we Hebrews did not cause any famine. We rescued them from one. Now let's go to Genesis 47, verse 13.